Let us look at the concept of call by value. And what we will do is we will basically try to interchange the values of two variables and then in a function and then see whether it is reflected back in the main program or not. So hash include stdio.h int main, and then in the main program I have int x equal to, let's say, 50 and int y equal to 100. And then what I want to do is to call a function, let us say function func underscore value, where we will pass the values of x and y to this function. Now before calling the function, let us print the values of x and y in the main function. So this is before function call, printf x equal to %d comma y equal to %d comma x comma y, and then we have this function call. So let us have the function func underscore value, and the parameters that has been passed are x and y. And inside this function what we will do is to simply have x as 100 and y as 50. So interchanging the values of the x and y variables which were given in the main function, that has been interchanged here. And then this function will not return anything, so this is a void. And inside this function what we can do is we can again see what happens to these values. So in function, in the called function, what are the values of x and y? We can have a look at it. Let me copy this as the function prototype. This is the function prototype. And then once the control returns back to the calling function, once again let us print the values of x and y. Printf after function call. Before function call, let me have this as in main, and this is also in the main function, in main. So what we are going to see is what happens to the values of x and y at each and every point. So what happens to the values of x and y here? Once the function call is made, what happens to the values of x and y in this void function func underscore value? And then once it returns back to the main function, to the calling function, what happens to the values of x and y once again? So let's print, let us have the execution. So we have executed the program. Before function call in main, we had the values of 50 and 100. So this was 50 and 100. Now this call was made to func underscore value, and in func underscore value the values of x and y were swapped. So x became 100 and y became 50 again. So in the called function, this is the called function, the value is 150. So the interchange has been made here. Now once it returns back to the calling function and again tries to print after function call, what happens? You will see that the value of x is equal to 50 and y is equal to 100. Now this is simply because what the program has done is it has created x and y variables in main function. This is local, x and y, these variables are local to main function, and their values are 50 and 100. and then two more variables x and y, these are created in func underscore value, and this x and y, these values of 150, this is local only to func underscore value. So it's like this x and y does not know what is the value of that x and y, and these are two separate variables. These are two separate variables in main, and these are two separate variables in func underscore value. And therefore, when we are making a transition from this func underscore value to the main function, the values, the original values are kept intact. So this is 50 and this is 100, and this is done via the concept of stacks. So we will discuss about the concept of stack in a later video.